This video segment is going to show the sieving of our soil samples to collect aggregates. Later on, we'll use those aggregates to perform Slake testing, which will give us data on the stability of the aggregates in our different soil samples. Normally for sieving, and I believe a number of you have done it before, we use sieves like this with different mesh sizes. Today we only need one mesh size, and that is because we're only interested in getting out aggregates that are 2 millimeters and larger. That's the cutoff for the grain size of sand. So unfortunately, this mesh that I just showed you in this sieve is about 0.2 millimeters, and I said we want to sieve out everything lower than 2 millimeters. So I don't have a sieve that's 2 millimeters, so I just made my own out of some material that I have. And so this is what we're going to use to sieve today. This has a mesh size of 2 millimeters. I actually already sieved sample 1. Let me show it to you. So what it looks like. I will post pictures because this camera doesn't focus very well up close, but that's what the aggregates from our first sample look like, or site 1. And you can see that there's a good distribution of aggregate size. And we will test these later to see how stable they are. I was aiming for about 20 grams of aggregates, and I ended up pulling out about 49.54 grams. So on the next sample, I'm going to use less because I don't want to take that much out of the sample. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through sieving the second sample from our second site and show you what that looks like. And we'll see how the aggregates look different than at site 1. So because I made a homemade sieve, I'm going to use this to sieve, and I'm going to use this weigh boat to catch the particles that fall through my sieve. First thing that I'm going to do though is we're going to use this balance later, move it out of the way for now. I'm going to pour our soil out and make sure it is homogeneous, and then I'm going to get a scoop from there and run it through our sieve. This is our dry soil from site 2. I'm going to do some mixing. It should be pretty well mixed already because it was laid out and then I poured it in the bag and then it was laid out again. So it should be fairly well mixed now. And so there is our soil from site 2. I'll move it a little closer, give you guys a look. I'm going to take a weigh boat and grab a scoop of this, a smaller scoop than I grabbed from site 1. So I only grabbed about that much, and we'll see if that gives us enough to sieve out to get about 20 grams of aggregate for our testing. So I poured the soil into my sieve, and I'm going to go ahead and just tap it and get that finer material out, the material that's finer than this mesh. One important thing about sieves is that you don't overfill them, because if you overfill them, it will block some of the finer material from going through, or that finer material just won't encounter the pores enough times to make its way through. So be careful not to overfill when you are sieving. I think that's pretty good for us. I might sieve a second time just to see if I can get anything else out, but let me show you what that looks like. You can see we have some nice big isolated aggregates in there, and there are different sizes. Maybe not as much as a distribution as the first site. A little more sieving just to make sure we got all that fine material through. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and weigh these aggregates, and see if we just got 20 grams. Because we'll use 10 to 20 grams for our slack testing. So I'm just going to put my weigh boat on the scale, tare the scale, and then transfer my aggregates on there. This is where it is useful to have like a paintbrush or some kind of soft brush to get all that last little soil out. Okay, so we have 27.84. That's 27.84 grams of aggregate. So that's pretty good. Let me show you what it looks like. See if that's a good view. There we go. And as I said, this camera is not the greatest, so I'm going to post some pictures of this for you so you can see in greater detail what the aggregates look like. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the soil from Site 2 back in the bag. Then I'm going to sieve Site 3 and I'm going to sieve Site 4. And then I'm going to come back and show you what each of those looked like. I will make a little video showing 4 because 4 is much looser, it's much more sandy, and I actually don't think we're going to get any aggregates out of it. So I'm going to go sieve Site 3, get ready to sieve Site 4, and then come back and show you what these aggregates look like. Okay, so I have sieved sample 3, or soil from Site 3, and it looks very, very similar to Site 2. It might have a little bit more of a distribution, though, of different sized aggregates. So again, I will post pictures so you have a better idea, since this camera is not capturing it as well as I would like. Now that I have sieved Site 3 and I got 29.06 grams of aggregates from there, I'm going to go ahead and sieve Site 4. Remember, Site 4 is very sandy. And you can look and remind yourself, see if I can lift it up. Here's Site 4 soil poured out on my paper. I'm going to take a scoop of this and try to sieve out some aggregates, but again, it's very sandy, and I'm skeptical that we're going to get very many. We might get a few, so let's give it a try. It should be well mixed. I mixed it in its bag. I poured it out and mixed it some, so it should be fairly well mixed. So let's just get a scoop. That's a scoop similar to what I got for Sites 2 and 3. And let's go ahead and work on sieving it and see if we find any aggregates. I think I put a little too much in the sieve, so I was talking about overloading, so I'm going to take some out and I'll put that back in just a minute. Okay, so most of this is going through. Let's make sure you could see this okay. I think that's better. It's hard for me to see the screen. Okay, so most of it went through. You might have some small aggregates, but let's see if I can get this so you guys could see it. Most of that in there is organic matter, like wood chips and such, and some dead roots. I really don't see any large aggregates, maybe some small ones. So let's get a little more material in there to sieve. Most of the material is going through again. Ah, I see one aggregate. So I'm going to keep sieving. So it's very unlikely that we're going to be able to get 20 grams of aggregates from this soil. We're getting mostly organic matter. I show it to you. Sticks, wood chips, roots, maybe a few aggregates that we could pick out and use for stability, a slaking test. So I'm going to go ahead and put what I have gotten so far in another weigh boat and try sieving just one more scoop. So let me get one more scoop of soil. And try sieving that and see if we can get any more aggregates. But this is a very, very sandy soil. There's been some organic matter introduced to it through wood chipping, but is not broken down to form a sticky material that tends to hold aggregates together. So this soil is definitely lacking in aggregates. Yeah, so again, most of the material went through my sieve, and I'm looking at mostly organic matter. So we'll stop there. I'll weigh this. This is definitely mostly organic matter. I see seeds. I see some pebbles. So you can tell this is very, very different soil from our first 3 sites. I'm just getting the last little bit out of our sieve here, and I will weigh this and see how much we got out. But again, this weight is a combination of some aggregates, some pebbles, a lot of organic matter, whereas the prior 3 samples it was mostly aggregates. And here's all the material that went through the sieve. So let's go ahead and weigh this. There's a few aggregates we can pick out in here and do a slaking test. We'll just have some limited material. Let's turn on the balance and tare it. There we go. Balance is tared. Gonna transfer my sieved materials to that weigh boat, and we have about 10.56. That's 10.56 grams of material, not pure aggregates. So that is the end of our sieving. I want to go ahead and just do a quick run through and show you the difference of the aggregates we got from each site. Here's the first site, site 1. Here is site 2. And I will post pictures of these so you get like a better, this is like a mirror. So you get a better idea. There we go. Okay. Of what they look like. That was site 2. Here's site 3. And then site 4, which we were just looking at. And you could tell how very different each of these sites are. Site 2 and site 3 were similar because they're both very clayey soils. You might have noticed that site 3 was slightly darker. So that completes our sieving of soils. I'll post pictures showing in better definition the differences of these aggregates. And now we are going to move on to testing pH and electrical conductivity.